Good morning. Hey, thanks for joining me for a little Brioga. Yoga where we focus on our posture to get more brio in our life, which is confidence, vigor, zest, vivacity. We're going to be working on balancing our pelvis, and then I'm just going to kind of flow through it and you can follow along. We're going to start with a big pillow and a strap on our back, feet flat, knees bent, hands up above your shoulders somewhere, palms up, big toe pressure, leave your back and stomach relaxed, and squeeze your pillow with your knees, keeping your back and stomach relaxed, release slowly. I'm going to do it with our breath 10 times, exhaling on the press, inhaling as we relax. Just a few more. Keep your big toe pressure. Make sure you're exhaling fully, exhaling all the air from your body as you press your pillow. Great job. Now we're going to grab our strap. We're going to lose our pillow. Place the strap over your thighs, just above your knees. The strap cannot stretch. If you need to, pause the video, grab a belt, a rope, a comfortable cord, anything you can get that'll fasten your legs together and not allow a stretch. You want to have about one fist of space between your knees. Same position, hands up, palms up, big toe pressure, back and stomach relaxed. And as you exhale, press on the strap with your knees, pressing out as if you were going to bust out of the strap. And we'll do it 10 times with our breath. And I do these exercises pretty much any time I'm going to be doing an important activity because they promote balance of the pelvis. Many people are walking around with imbalanced pelvises, whether they're tilted forwards, backwards, sideways, rotated, translated. It's very common, and it can come from all sorts of environmental factors that your body is responding to. And by simply pressing on a strap and a pillow, you can use the muscles to replace the position of your pelvis to a neutral one. Great job. We're going to slip the strap off and set it beside us. Don't need it anymore. We're going to come to our hands and knees. Fingers forward, fingers spread. Shoulders get engaged together a little bit. Very squarely placing the hands and the knees. And we're going to start some cat-cow. So we're going to arch our back up, starting with the hips. Tucking our chin, pressing into the ground. And then coming into this position, starting by lifting the tailbone, pressing the belly down, bringing the shoulders together and away from the ears, and looking up. And we're just going to switch from one position to the other, always initiating with the hips. And if you're able, breathe into the end of the position. So like right here. Exhale. As you move, and then inhale as you hit it. Let's just do a few more. one more big one. And then for a moment, let's sit our hips all the way back to our feet almost. Walk your hands out forward or slide them. Fingers spread, a little pressure down into the ground. Rest your forehead on the ground, belly on your thighs, and breathe into the space just there where your belly and thighs are touching. Big, big breath. Exhale all the way out. Bringing your belly button to your spine, feeling the area in your hips compress, contract, possibly even cramp. And let's take 8 to 10 breaths like this. Big, big breaths, really focusing on your exhale. And then we're going to come back up. And let's plant our toes. Push through the heel. Straighten the leg. Hold your plank for a breath or two. Shoulders back, belly tight, butt squeezed, fingers pressed. And then lift your hips up and behind you for a downward dog. Giving a slight bend in the knee, lifting the tailbone high. Trying to bring the head between the arms, squeeze the shoulder blades together, rotating the elbows out to the sides. And then let's come forward to a plank. Pause, take a deep breath. And back up. One full breath cycle at the top. Back to a plank. Let's do it one more time through. Big breath at the plank. Big breath at the top. And then we're going to bring it back to our hands and knees. We're going to do one more thing here. We're going to do a little bird dog. So we're going to keep our hands right under our shoulders. We're going to stick our foot back, plant the toe, right foot, bring the left hand forward, and then lift both. Imagine making an extremely straight line with your body. Bring it back, left foot back, right hand forward, lift. Keeping lots of tension in the low belly right here to keep your spine from overly extending. Come back, right foot goes back, left hand forward, lift. Find a breathing pattern that works for you. Left foot back, right hand forward, lift. Right foot, left hand, lift. Left foot, right hand, lift. Let's do 2 more rounds. Awesome. Okay, let's roll over to the wall, scoot your hip up sideways, reach forward, and roll your legs up the wall. Your hips should be firmly on the ground. If they are not, scoot a little further back. You should feel like the bony part of your hip firmly contacting the floor. Deep, deep breaths, exhaling all the way. Take your hands together. Interlace your fingers. Press your palms into each other, keeping your elbows extremely tight. Bring your arms behind your head. Inhale as you open up. Exhale as you come back. Let's do 3 more. And then bring your feet to the wall, flat, wide feet, big toe pressure. And let's take a few deep breaths, just maintaining this position here with your big toe pressure, hips on the ground, knees out. Now that our hips have settled a little bit, let's slide our knees to the inside and to the outside, but keep your feet and your big toes very flat. And the distance your knees travel isn't important, it's much more important to just keep your big toes on the wall. If you get a little cramp in your ankle or your foot, just try to work through it and allow your body to let that cramp serve its purpose, because it does have one. While we've been here today, I've had a cramp in my foot, my hip, my ribs, and like my low groin area. And I feel like that's just my body changing and finding a better resting position against the surfaces I'm using. Okay, that's good. We're going to bring our feet off the wall and roll out of it. We're going to stand up and put our hands shoulder height on the wall in front of us. We're going to take a big step back, push our hips so they're over our heels, and if you think your heels are behind your hips, take a little step forward, find a good spot, and then keep your hands flat like they're anchored to the wall, and just stretch your hips out behind you as far as they can go. Take 3 more of your deepest breaths. In this pose, you can also press your toes into the ground and roll your knees to the side a little bit to screw your feet into the ground, create a little more tension through your arches and your hips. And then we're going to stand up out of it. We're going to put our backs to the wall now. Heels outside of the feet straight, hips and shoulders to the wall, with our thumbs and all of our fingers, and we're going to take 5 or 6 deep breaths, trying to really flatten those contact points to the wall. Feel symmetry, feel evenness. Don't feel the need to force your head to touch the wall. That's not necessary. Couple more deep breaths. And then put your knuckles on your head, elbows touching the wall. Keep your shoulders on the wall and your hips, and bring your elbows forward as far as they're going to go, possibly to touch, and then back out to the wall, using whatever range of motion is available to you without pain. First day I ever made this movement, my elbows couldn't get closer together than 12 inches apart. And that changed very quickly, and it was never like that again. Let's do 2 more. Okay, I'm going to stretch out my upper back. So we're going to do a forward fold. Make sure your feet are straight. Outside edges are straight, big toe pressure. Push your hips back slightly, lift your tailbone, and lower yourself safely down. As you reach the bottom, let your head relax, possibly even tuck your chin. And take extremely deep breaths, keeping a very slight bend in the knee. Try to feel your weight evenly from side to side and front to back on your feet. And we'll take a few more deep breaths. And then bend your knees, lift your head, and squat your way out of. And then we're going to put ourselves on the wall again. We're going to focus on our hips and our hamstrings and also our back. We're going to start kneeling near the wall with our toes just a couple of inches away. Put our other knee close to our heel, plant the toes in the back, and then push your heel to the ground in the back, keeping your feet very lined up. Big toe pressure, hands up high, and lean into the wall. big, deep breaths, keeping your legs tight, pressing your chest towards the wall, big toe pressure. Then we're going to bring it back down and switch. So we're going to put our other foot close to the wall, knee to heel, toes planted in the back, and then push your foot flat, reach up the wall, legs tight, big toe pressure, and drop your chest to the wall. Big exhales, exhaling all the air out of your body with every breath. And then we're going to lower our hands, step out of it. We're going to bring it back to the floor. And we're going to do a little wrist stretching, and then we're going to get into our hips from another angle. So put your hands sideways or backwards. Try and spread your fingers. And then just move back and forth. You don't want to create pain for your wrist, but you want to feel some significant tension. Just a gentle rock. You can go side to side now, keeping your shoulders together, keeping a little tension in your belly. And then do some circles. Let's go counterclockwise first. And then clockwise. And then we're going to turn our hands around the usual way, plant our toes, lift our hips up and back, and then we're going to bring our left knee up to our wrist, turn our shin out to the side, and scoot our other leg back a little bit until we find a point of comfort. And then you can either keep your hands straight or you can turn them around again. And we're going to stay up tall in our pigeon pose today. A common misconception about pigeon pose is that it's meant to be laying down. However, pigeon pose is actually to focus on extension, which is the lifting of the spine, the opposite of being hunched over. Obviously, it's a great stretch for your hip because that's where we're doing it, but we also want to keep the extension aspect in mind. Many people suffer from an extreme lack of extension. There are many people out there, and people that I've worked with, that can't even lie flat on the ground. They can't put their head down, they need large pillows, risers. I've even seen people that needed 8 inches of a rise to put their head resting on something if they lay on their back. And And I think the biggest reason for that is people just don't expose themselves to extension enough. The body becomes extremely used to being flexed, it tightens down the position, reinforces it for years until you just can't even go the other way anymore. And then you have to work very hard to stimulate your body to tell it that you need that mobility back. And it can come back, it's just a lot more work than maintaining it in the first place. And we're going to plant our toe in the back, push into the ground a little bit to lift our hip, and then we're going to slide our foot pointing back and bring it back to our other foot. We'll come up to downward dog, bring our right knee forward, scoot our left foot back, and find a hand position that works for you. Take deep breaths, exhaling all the way. Couple more deep breaths, big, full exhales. And then we're going to plant our toe in the back, push into the ground, bring our knee back. Let's finish with a couple things laying on the ground. So we're going to put ourselves on our sides, knees up at a right angle, hips at a right angle. You want your knees to stay very closely matched together. You need to put your hands out in front, and keeping your knees together, open up to the other side and look right at your hand. If it doesn't touch the ground all the way, that's perfectly fine. Try to keep it at or slightly above your shoulder level in terms of your foot to your head. So above shoulder level towards your head level. Try to let your head stay relaxed on the ground. Take deep breaths, exhaling all the way each time. And then we're going to bring our hands back together, out in front. We're going to roll over to the opposite side. Put our hands together, knees at a right angle, hips at a right angle. Open up. We'll look right at your arm. You'll probably notice that one direction is easier or more mobile than the other, and that's sort of typical. If you have a little bit of scoliosis like me, it'll probably be a lot more pronounced. back. And now it's time for my favorite part of class. The part of class where we squeeze our butts. We're going to lay on our back, feet a little extra wide, toes out to the side, hands out to the side, palms up, shoulders underneath you a little bit. Take a second to relax. And then out of that stillness, squeeze your glutes. Kind of gently at first, slowly, finding that full glute contraction, and then relaxing in slow motion also. Now it's very important to keep your back and your stomach relaxed while you're doing this. You want to use the concentrated contraction to work through any compensations that are residing in our nervous system. When your glutes are working with muscles of your back or your hamstrings unnecessarily, it can create inflammation and issues which lead to over-tightness. I've even known people that have had such dysfunctional, overly tight hamstrings that they tore off their pelvis. One person I helped would row every single day and didn't have any mobility practice, and they had reached out to me for help because they were having some pain. And that night they were getting out of bed to use the restroom and they tore their hamstring really, really badly and required surgery. Literally just getting out of bed. And that kind of stuff doesn't just happen randomly, it builds up over a long time until your body can't handle it anymore and something gives, and then you're injured. But by taking a little time just to squeeze your butt or manage your mobility, access certain positions, you can avoid those problems and all sorts of pain and suffering and monetary cost. And that'll serve as our Shavasana. Thank you so much for joining me for Brioga today. It's my first advanced Brioga in a while. I had a great time. I hope you did too. And if you like the video, please remember to like and or subscribe. Share it with a friend, your mom. Go to my website, join my mailing list for exciting wellness-based newsletters, and have a great day. Bye.